wanna be down with the king.
It's the Sports King. Sports Kings.
He might fall off the wagon in the next 10 minutes.
It's about bringing talent. It's not about all the flash and glitz and glam.
Not your average sports talk show. The Sports Kings.
This is NFL legend, Work Done.
This is your boy D. Howard, a.k.a. Superman.
I'm Jerome Bettis, the Bus.
It's Cam Newton. Holla at the boy already.
This is Hank Aaron, and I'm down with the king.
Tell a friend, Kings is back.
TGIMFing. Yes, indeed. It is Friday inside the Sports Kingdom. Your boy Big Mike here, back here with you. My guy Rob Calloway's out in Vegas, perusing and rubbing elbows with the stars, getting ready for the big fight tomorrow. Definitely, I guess, having a great time because I hadn't heard from him. I texted him a couple times, but, no reply. I guess now I know how he feels when he texts me. Don't forget, we're being heard. This is the Sports Kings podcast. Don't forget, we're being heard via Spreaker.com. Our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook accounts are all the same at Sports Kings Live. So make sure you guys follow us and, like us and all those good things. Shoot us your crazy Instagram photos, as well as our email address, sportskingslive@gmail.com. Now, yesterday, unless you were living under a rock somewhere or inside of a cave or possibly incarcerated, you may not have known the NFL draft happened last night. Couple of surprises that we'll get into a little bit later on in the show. But we're going to do something that we've never done before on this show. Yes, indeed. Our inaugural guest, a guy who I know pretty well. We worked together over at the other shop. My guy Dan Matthews of Score Atlanta, Falcons reporter for Score Atlanta. He was out at Flowery Branch yesterday, taking in the all the goings on up there. As you know, the Falcons drafted Vic Beasley yesterday, the outside linebacker / defensive end out of Clemson. He had his press conference today, and Dan was there. Dan, what's going on, my brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm honored. I'm the first guy.
You know what? I need to probably turn your mics and everything on before I have you. All right, now I got Dan back in. Dan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm the first one to join, huh?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and you know what? It was important to me that you be a white guy. I mean, you're already a white guy.
I appreciate
but,
that.
I wanted to make sure that the people who listen to the show know that I'm not lying. I know white folks, and I'm good with them. They're good with me. Nah.
You're good. You're good people, Mike. Anytime, man.
All right, man. So let's get to the important stuff first and foremost. Yesterday, everybody walked across the stage. They had their walk-up music. First and foremost, what is the Dan Matthews first-round draft pick walk-up music? What is that? What is that song?
Oh, man, the first one put me on the spot here. There's so many ways we can go. I'm probably going to go Led Zeppelin, Cashmere. Go a little classic rock. But
Okay. I'm with it.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, you were at the Vic Beasley. Oh, first of all, let's talk about last night before we get to the press conference thing. Let's talk about last night. Now, up until about 2 weeks ago, the first time I'd seen this was on Charles Davis's mock draft where he had the Falcons possibly selecting Todd Gurley. And so, all the Go Dogs, all the Georgia folks, was like, hell yeah, we should get him, not understanding what the needs of the team were. How serious were those talks in your estimation?
Well, Thomas Dimitroff was asked that during the press conference, and pretty much the only thing he alluded to was the fact that he was on the phone with Les Snead, but he said that in no time Snead brought up the fact that, we're going to take him if he's here at 10. He didn't necessarily entertain the whole, we were thinking about it because the way that they talked about it from the beginning of the press conference and all the way through was Beasley was their guy. Beasley was there at 8, and they went with Vic Beasley. And as you said, and as I agree with as well, they've fixed a real huge need for this team.
Now, speaking of Vic Beasley, I saw an article today that said there was possibly some talks. Mike Florio made mention to some possible talks between the Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons in reference to Bruce Irvin being someone brought into the fold here, a guy who Dan Quinn knows very, very well from his days in Seattle. And I mentioned just last night on the podcast that the drafting of Vic Beasley can't be all that is done as far as getting a pass rush, because I don't think you put a kid in a position where teams are game planning for him. There needs to be some sort of counterbalance there. First of all, did you hear anything about this Bruce Irvin situation, and what do you think is going to be the Falcons' plan as far as balancing things out and generating an even pass rush?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is I don't necessarily think they're done going after pass rush even tonight. I think that there's a possibility, maybe even second round they do, maybe even in the third round. It just depends on where they feel like is on their board and what they feel like is the right player to go with at that time. But, I mean, you telling me that when they draft here that Randy Gregory's there, they don't really seriously think about it, and you can get a guy who was thought to maybe be a top 10 pick. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a huge possibility. And the other thing is, too, is you know this as well as anybody, Mike, that in today's game, you know, look at the teams that have won that have had really good pass rushes. Look at just a few years ago with the New York Giants when they had two very good guys off the edge able to get to the quarterback. I mean, you really don't win with just one, you know, solid pass rusher.
Right.
I know calling Vic Beasley solid, and he hasn't even played it down in the NFL yet, but I think if there's a chance to fortify and there's a chance to get another guy that you feel really good about going into camp in July or even before that for OTAs and minicamp, I think you do it tonight. And then, you know, there's other needs that you need to address. Offensive line, obviously, tight end, somebody that can help block on the offensive line, and then also, too, a running back. And there's still a lot of good players left in all three of those position groups.
Now, see, and you lead him into my next question. Well, the Randy Gregory thing, I know that Thomas Dimitroff, he's on record as saying that they did not take the young man off of their board. And I think that's smart because what you're looking for now from a guy who slid from, as you said, a top 10 pick to now into the second round, there's going to be some value there. You know what I mean? As far as getting a guy with more potential than risk that you're giving for him. Another two names that I heard today, or that I read about today, let me say that, and one that I thought of myself. A guy named Ali Marpet from Hobart University. Jake Fisher, the tackle from Oregon, a guy who you can bring in as a natural left tackle, move your guy from last year, Matthews, over to the right side and have your bookends at tackle. But then another name that I thought about today, Landon Collins. A guy who now has fallen out of the first round as well. Everyone thought he was going to be the first round safety. It ended up being the guy from Arizona State getting picked ahead of him because they feel like Landon Collins has these limitations as far as him being a box safety. But when I hear that, I hear Cam Chancellor. What do you hear? As far as all three of those positions, second round for the Falcons, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's the same thing, too. And one thing that I heard in terms of Collins might be a knock against him is the fact that maybe he's not a center field safety, and that's something that they're looking for to pair along with William Moore. But, I mean, that's the other thing is, though, too, is you're not the first one to say that comparison, Mike. And I think that, you know, you get a guy like Collins who, it's no mistake when you play at the level he did and probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest, football conference in all of college football. I mean, I think that's somebody that, you probably do entertain at that spot there in the second round because, let's face it, he's going to be in the top 10 of this second round and going tonight because he is a guy that fits the need. I mean, he even went to Chicago because he thought he was going to be a first-round guy and it ended up falling out just because of the way that the draft board worked out. But I think, he definitely is somebody. Ali Marpet, funny you talk about him. He was a guy that was at the Senior Bowl, and you know you saw this H on the guy's helmet, and you're like, "Where the hell is Hobart College?"
Exactly.
And then you find out when he gets to the combine and everywhere else that it's a D3 school, but he impressed there too. So I mean, he's going to be somebody that's drafted higher than probably most D3 guys are. But no, I mean, offensive line is still a position of need on this team, and you know, it's still, even though the offensive line play was better last year. Still probably not to the liking that the team or the organization, for that matter, would like to have it at. So, I definitely believe that we'll be seeing an offensive lineman come off the board pretty early for the Falcons, if not early tonight, that being maybe even into tomorrow.
As far as surprises go, moving away from the Falcons quickly, surprises from yesterday's draft, what were yours?
Well, I'd probably have to say the Titans going with Mariota. I know that there was the talk of that happening. I mean, you also heard that the Browns were up for it, and then you hear the likes of Peter King and all them saying, no, they're not going to be up for it. So they ended up keeping their two draft picks in the first round and getting Danny Shelton with one of them. But then also, too, Scherf, the guy out of Iowa, if that's how you say his name.
Washington.
Going to the Redskins. Yeah, I mean, I think you had to say it. That was one because that was also, too, the Redskins were thought to be up there, trying to go after the likes of Beasley and those guys as well. So I think that really helped the Falcons. the fact that they didn't go with the edge rusher that part of the draft, and they went with Sherritt, the offensive lineman, first. So, I mean, that definitely was a surprise, and it definitely helped out the team get the guy that they wanted to get.
You know what? You know, two things surprised me. The Todd Gurley thing surprised the hell out of me, Dan, for a couple of reasons. And I think I think the Todd Gurley thing, and I hadn't heard anybody say this, is linked to that La'el Collins situation, because I think the St. Louis Rams wanted to go La'el Collins, but guess what? There's a possibility he could get Ray Caruth. Yes, I did use Ray Caruth's name as a verb. Yeah, he could get Ray Caruth in this one. Yeah, because it smells like it, Dan. It has that whole aroma on it. The police wanted to talk to this dude on Tuesday. Now he's saying he'll meet with them on Monday. Hold on, dude. The draft is going to be over with then. Did anybody tell you that? You know what I mean? Yeah, it has a whole lot of – it has a stench to it. The other thing, they got the kid Trey Mason last year out of Auburn, who played well last year. And I have a theory when it comes to running backs. And first of all, I'm not a big fan of first-round running backs. I don't care how good they are, because I understand what the position is. But if you do, one, have a need. That thing that San Diego did, I'm cool with that. Or if the Cowboys would have drafted the first-round running back, I'm cool, because there's a need there. And these two guys, the two guys that got drafted, are game-changing running backs. They're worthy of the first-round pick, if there were any, right? But But I believe if you draft one in the first round, you got to Eddie Lacy that dude. You got to give him every carry. It ain't no running back a committee situation. For the next 3 years, he got to get every possible carry that you can give him, not splitting carries and all this foolishness, because he's a first-round back. But, yeah.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
You got it.
Okay, well, no, I mean, the thing is with a guy like Gurley is I think one of the biggest issues with him is, let's look at last year. He had the ankle, and then this year, albeit it was not really it was his fault. I shouldn't say that in terms of the autograph stuff, but it caused him to miss 4 games. However you feel about that rule, it is what it is. But then he tears his ACL, which I think that's one of those injuries that it's more of an injury of just kind of happenstance, not necessarily an injury of, maybe, he's not taking care of himself or whatever it is. But still, the truth of the matter is most people who maybe didn't watch you as closely, they're going to look at that and say, he missed some significant time on the college football field, so durability kind of comes into question. I think you run into, Mike, with running backs, is you run into kind of what Daryl Morey on the basketball level said about Chandler Parsons, the guy that came in and was able to make significant contributions to the second-round pick. And I think what he says pertains to running backs, too, where you want to find Chandler Parsons, you don't want to pay them the serious money.
Boom.
So in that case, the Rams are going to be able to pay him the slotted, 10th pick money, and then at the end, when it comes up to the contract situation, then it's going to be up to them to see what they want to do with that. But I think one of the other ones of the night, too, and maybe not even of the surprises, that getting back to one of the other things, but Zach Stacy's tweet of the yikes of Zach Stacy basically probably alluding to what you were alluding to as well, saying, well, maybe my days here in St. Louis are numbered, or maybe just my time on the field is numbered,
too.
He
wants out. He's already requested a trade, my man. He wants out immediately.
Oh, yeah.
So, the other one was Shane Ray, and kind of like tongue-in-cheek-ish. I felt like there was some irony. There's a bunch of things that are ironic in the whole Shane Ray situation. The fact that the Broncos traded up to get him, and the fact that a kid who got busted with an ounce of weed is going to a state where he can easily just drive by a weed store, a legal weed store. But then you still have, people forget that Von Miller has had his issue with the NFL substance abuse policy as well. You know what I mean? So now then you had front office guys who were popped for, what was it, being drunk or drunk driving, was it not? Out in Denver. So, for them to kind of, I guess, dip their hand back into that situation, I understand why. Because guys have made a living off of that Wade Phillips situation out there. Like guys like Sean Merriman never got blocked, ended up with 15, 16 sacks every year. So I understand why you go get a guy like Shane Ray, because if you can get him on a running back consistently or on a tight end consistently, he's going to be a hellacious pass rusher in this league. But I found that surprising. I didn't see that move coming from the Denver Broncos, seeing that DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller are already out there. Dan,
go ahead, brother. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, man. I think one of the things is too is I think it's an interesting situation with the Broncos too because I'm familiar with that coaching staff, familiar with the defensive coordinator.